Thank you, Wade, so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure.
On your track by track, we're talking about old country songs.
Yes.
This is your newest
the latest
release.
CD.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Very
love
proud
it.
of
And I love the album. You guys, look at home. This album is amazing. And it actually looks like an old LP.
That was the whole point. It looked like something straight out of the 70s, the vinyl. We made a point to do that, and I thought it turned out great. I was really tickled with the way it looked.
It does. It's amazing. But let's go ahead and let's talk by track. Your first song, Can't Get Close Enough to You. I want to know all about that song.
That Can't Get Close Enough was very interesting how it ended up on this record. That was a song I wrote probably 9 years ago. And there they go. Somebody else is here. Can't Get Close Enough was just this obscure song I wrote with Clint Ingersoll. And I did it one time at a writer's night, and after I had just written it. And the lady that runs my fan club, Helen Neal, remembered it all these years, and she asked me when we were recording this new project, will you please put that song on there? I loved it so much. And I went back and found that thing, went back through my notebooks and found it and tweaked it, rewrote some lines, and it actually turned out to be one of my favorite cuts on the record. I love the way it feels. It's kind of an R&B feel, something like Conway Twitty would do, or like a Rainy Night in Georgia type feel. And just that era of country music back then. And so that's how it came to be, and it's one of my favorite tracks on
Well, good job for having a good memory, right?
Well, yeah, Helen.
Great.
And you know, she got me thinking, I wonder how many songs are in my notebooks that I've totally forgotten about. So I'm in the process of still digging through them. So
I bet you are. That's amazing. Well, I love that it's on the song. What was your inspiration for writing that?
You know, I just remembered a time when, you know, have you ever loved somebody so much you couldn't get close enough to them?
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly what that's about. And you know, but those feelings, it's you know, when you're young, you have those feelings, and I remember that. I'm slipping up on being a geezer now, but I remember having those feelings when I was younger, and it was very powerful.
Yeah.
You know, just that feeling of loving somebody so much, you just couldn't do enough for them. You know, you couldn't get close enough to them. So that's what it's about.
Track 2 is Full Moon Summer Night.
Yeah, that song has a bit of an interesting story. I was out here at the house, summer night, outside, and I could smell the honeysuckle, and there was a full moon out. And again, I had those feelings of being a young man, you know, being teenager, first car, out on a date, and parked out in the country. And just the feeling of the summertime and those smells, like the honeysuckle, especially early summer. And it brought back a flood of memories. And, you know, the ideal situation is you marry your high school sweetheart.
Right.
Of course, that rarely works out.
Rarely.
But that's, you know, that's kind of the whole idea behind that. I know people that are that way and married their high school sweethearts and remained married all these years, and being a songwriter, you know, you kind of get to dream and wish out loud sometimes, and that's what that song's about. Just the flooding of memories I had that night, and looking up and seeing full moon and summer night, and I thought, that's a song title, that's an idea, I need to write that, I need to write these feelings down. So that's where it came from. And I played it for Mark Colley. We had been in a writing session laboring over this idea that was going nowhere, and I thought, dude, that wasn't even the idea I was going to play for you. I had this one that I feel really strongly about, and I played it for him, and he was like, that's the one, let's get to work. And so it came pretty fast. We got a really good start on it. I came home, and while mowing the yard, which is typically how I finish songs, it came while I was mowing the yard, and I was really happy with the way it turned out.
That's great. I love that. You're just mowing the yard, and I got the rest of my song going.
I do that all the time.
That's fun. That's great. I don't mow the lawn, so you know.
Well, there's plenty here to mow. I'm usually out there a few hours, so it gives me plenty of time.
There you go. And that seems like it would be pretty peaceful for you as well.
It is.
You know?
It's a, there's nothing like being, you have to be in this menial task for a couple of hours, nothing to do but think, so.
Right.
It's a good time for me. I like to do that right when I'm doing that and driving. I get a lot done while I'm driving.
Right. And we've heard that story before. People will be driving, they'll get a song idea, they'll pull over on the side of the road, and they'll finish writing a song. So
it happens to me a lot. So.
That's incredible. Well, thank you for sharing. Number 3 is my favorite. And it's I Wish I Still Drank.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite song on there, too, I think. I'm tied for number 1.
Okay.
So, and obviously I have a new young dog, and she really wants to know what's going on in here.
We love her.
Yeah.
She's great.
But I Wish I Still Drank was an idea that I got from a famous songwriter friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And he told me this story, which is a true story. Knowing him, I know that it was true. It was probably more so than what he told me even. But he walked in after a gig. He'd been drinking, walked into a Whataburger. It wasn't a Taco Bell, but Whataburger is kind of hard to rhyme with. So
right.
Taco Bell just kind of flows. So, so he walked in and did that. He, no shoes, no shirt, no service. I'll show you. He took everything off, completely nude, except for his shoes and his shirt, and walked in and got served, and sat down and ate his dinner at 2:00 in the morning, naked, and so I laughed about that story for about a week, and I thought, I've got to write this song. It's a great idea. And so finally I was up north playing a club. I was in there doing sound check, and the 5 o'clockers came in having beers, and one of them was at the end of the bar and was watching his buddies have fun and unwind, and he said, man, I wish I still drank. And that was like, okay. There's your idea. There's your title, so just go with it. And it came really fast after that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I know the line about the cops eating your tacos.
Yeah. It was a fun song. I enjoyed writing that very much. I wrote that mowing the lawn. Yeah.
That's great. And every time I hear it, that part makes me giggle. I love it so much. And I wondered where that had come from. So I'm so glad we were able to do this show and that you agreed to be a part of this, because I really wanted to. A lot of fans, when they hear songs, they want to pick your brain and they want to find out what caused that song. What was your inspiration for it?
Yeah, and I believe the night that my friend went in and pulled this stunt, there were police in the Whataburger.
Yeah.
And he just went in anyway. They didn't even notice him. He was sitting there naked. And so anyway. Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. Well, good job. Good idea for the song.
Thank you.
That was great.
I was proud of that one. That was fun. It was fun to write, fun to play.
I was going to say, that one's got to be a fun one to perform live, too.
It is. And that guitar lick, the signature lick on the front of it just came out. It just sounded natural, and it just kind of wrote itself. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good
Thank
story
you.
there. Thank you. This is great.
Yeah.
Track 4 is What You Need From Me. Oh, this one is the duet that you sing, and it's beautiful.
This one has an interesting backstory as well. Megan Mullins sang the female part on that, and she's a good friend of mine, has been for years and years. And back in the day, probably 9 years ago, we were trying to get her a record deal, and I wanted to produce her. And I had taken her to one of the hot producers in town, and told him what we were wanting to do, and he was very interested and started giving us songs to work up. And he was kind of spinning it towards doing a duet. And I was more interested in getting Megan a deal and just, co-producing it and helping write the songs. That's what I wanted to do. But he was hot on us doing this song, and I thought, this is a great song. I'd love to record this someday. And all these years later, it was held up, we had to wait till somebody recorded it before the publishing company would release it. So, lo and behold, a couple of different people have cut the song and it didn't go anywhere. One of those being Bonnie Tyler and Vince Gill was probably the most notable recording of that, and it was a European cut. And once that happened, then the song was free. Anybody could record it. So
Okay.
yeah, once that happened, and I became aware of it, that song was on the A list for this record.
Absolutely. Well,
I love it.
It's beautiful, and Megan does.
John
such
Randall
a good
wrote
job.
that with his wife Jessie.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
great song.
It is a fabulous song, and watching you guys perform that live it's just beautiful to see. You guys have such chemistry too.
Well, it's funny. The producers that had brought the song to us, he made us do that. We were just singing it, and he said, "No, you guys need to interact. You need to look at each other and act like you mean it."
Okay.
And he was really honest about that. So we got so used to doing it that way that it just came naturally to when we perform it live to do it that way now.
Right. Well, that's the one that whenever I see other fans too, they're watching you.
Everybody loves that.
Everybody loves that. It's a remarkable song. You guys do it perfectly every
Thank
single
you.
time.
I love the cut on it.
It's brilliant. And Megan is she's a phenomenal.
She's one of the
singer
most
and
talented
player.
people I've ever met in my life, and I hate her guts and liver. I do.
Yeah, she's fabulous.
Jealous.
Yeah. I can't do any of that stuff. I'm very jealous of her. She's amazing.
Needed to Rain is a song written by Chris Stapleton and Chris Dubois. It's Tim Dubois' son. And they have Seagull Publishing. A company, Brad Paisley's involved with that company. But anyway, I'd heard the song a long time ago as well. A friend of mine named Alicia Lanier played that song for me. And I was just amazed at it and that nobody had cut it. And I love the idea of it. We Needed the Rain, totally different spin on it. Like the relationship, they gave them time.
Right.
And much needed time to reconnect. And I love that idea. I think it's a very common problem.
Right. It is.
This world is so busy, so demanding, and especially if you put kids in the mix and two people working. So I can definitely see how this song works, and it worked for me. I love the way it sounded, and Chris Stapleton, of course.
Right.
Who sings better than him on the planet? Nobody. So, he could sing the phone book and I'd probably want to record it, but I hearing his vocal on that, it was like, can I even pull this off?
Right.
So I dropped it about 5 steps and made a stab at it, and I love the way the record turned out on that.
Yeah. The next song is the title track, Old Country Song. So tell me about that.
Old Country Song is a song that Mike Owens played for me. He's a song player in town. And it was written by Roger Springer and Tim Menzies. And I heard that song and I thought it was perfect. It's just such a well-written song, intelligent. And I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I thought that it had to be on this record. So that's how it ended up there.
Yeah. What made you choose that song as the title for the album? I
wanted that's the idea of my music. I really haven't changed that much with the times, and I like what I like, and I can't help that. And it's like blaming somebody for liking vanilla versus chocolate ice cream. You can't help what you like.
Right.
Now I love. Would surprise people some of the music that I love. Very eclectic taste. Anything from jazz to heavy metal. Some pop music. I don't typically like lighter stuff, but I like stuff with feeling. Yeah. And you're putting it out there, and that's what I gravitate towards. And I think that's probably why I loved the songwriters of the 70s and 80s. They told it like it was. Yes. They didn't paint over it, Right. It was real deal stuff, and good musicians, good solos, up through the 90s, still great solos on records, which is something you don't hear that much anymore. So
no, you don't. And
our era, the 90s and early 2000s, that was some very good music that was being made back then. Yeah. And so up to that point, that's kind of what I love. Old country song is what it's all about for me.
Track 7, I don't understand.
That's another song that was written by Roger Springer and Tim Menzies, and I was actually down in Oklahoma at Rogers Theater, And he has a small theater down there. It's a family-style atmosphere, and I've done a few shows down there. And Roger and I are old friends, and he was playing one of his early albums. He had a record deal on MCA years ago, and he was playing that pre-show. And I heard "I Don't Understand All I Know About Love," and I thought, man, I love that song. It's got great everything. You know, it's the loping country beat. It has good solos in it, good harmonies. And I asked him if I could record it, and I thought it'd make a great addition to this record. That's how it came to be. I just heard it. It's a random song I just happened to hear.
And I love that, and I think fans will enjoy hearing that too, you know, because there's always those times when we'll hear songs and we think, you know, our favorite musician here or there could do that song really well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I loved it. It just sounded like it epitomized the era that I came from, you know, the 90s country. It epitomized it. So.
Julia, I have a specific question about this song.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know who Julia is?
Julia, I do not know if that was an actual person, but I do know that it was written by Don Cook and John Jarvis. And Don Cook was my first producer. He produced a lot of my first records. And John Jarvis played on them, actually played keyboards. And that was a song that Conway Twitty had a #1 hit on in the 80s when I was in either just coming out of high school or going into college. Right. And I've loved it since then. And Megan and I actually started doing that song backstage to warm up. Oh. It was a favorite song of hers as well. And it started coming off so good that we thought, I might just need to put that on the record. Yeah. It's another old country song that I love, and I love the feel of it. It's just, it's almost ethereal to me. It just kind of sits above the ground a little bit. I can't think of a better way to describe it other than that it's just a little bit lighter than air to me, and I love it.
No, it's a great song, and I was so hoping on the way over here. I thought, you know, maybe he actually knows. Maybe there's an actual Julia out there.
I do not know.
Okay.
I would doubt it. I think it's just a name that sang well, which, you know.
Yeah, just like Taco Bell.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
It was easier to remember. Track 9, She Knows Me. This one you've redone.
Yeah, that's another song that actually on one of my many visits with Don Cook, you know, he didn't produce my stuff later on, but we still remained friends and visited, and I had just written that song and he loved it. The original version, which is slower. And then he listened to it again and he said, you need to rewrite this like something like Brad Paisley would record or something like that, up-tempo with a solo. And so I took his advice, and that's why this song is on there. It was just me trying to experiment with doing doing things a different way. And it was fun to rewrite it and write a bridge to it and do it up-tempo. I enjoyed it very much. Now, I've heard people say they like the original version better, and some people like the new version better, but you know, it was an interesting experiment that I enjoyed.
Right. Well, that's the key. Did you enjoy it? If you enjoyed doing it.
I loved writing it. I loved thinking about a different way to go about it.
Now, when you perform that one at your shows, are you going to perform both ways or just the current?
I personally, now that I've had a chance to listen to them both a lot, I think the original sentiment to the song, how I felt when I wrote that song, comes across better on the ballad. I got the idea for that song. I was watching my favorite pastor years ago on TV. He was talking about God and how he knows us, but he loves us anyway. Yeah. And just thought that would be a great song title. You know, Unconditional Love, though more than likely doesn't exist in real life. It's a nice thought. So.
It's a great thought, absolutely. Yeah. And I'd like to believe that it does still happen, but you know, I get what you're saying. And what a beautiful way to pull that message in too.
Yeah, I think that's if it only were possible. Yeah.
Right, that's awesome. our last track.
Okay.
I love it. It's, Going Where the Lonely Go. And this is a Merle Haggard song,
Yeah,
right?
that was a biggie for me to do. We had just lost Merle not too long before we started recording this, and I wanted to pay homage to him, say thank you. He shaped my outlook on music and my approach, probably more so than anybody. I loved him when I was a kid. I couldn't understand how somebody, especially when I started writing songs, how somebody could be that prolific that often. And not just prolific, but write great songs. His album cuts were great. And to sing as well as he did and to write as well as he did, he has been unmatched to this day.
Yeah.
Period. The only person I've ever heard come close to him that can write well and sing well is Stapleton.
Right.
And I would put them in the same group.
Oh, and I'm sure Chris Stapleton would absolutely thank you for that, but I'm
It's,
sure...
it's true. And Haggard, you know, his songs, the melodies were interesting. The tracks they cut were beautiful, and his vocals were perfect.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you do that.
Yeah,
I
those
just
are
don't
big
know how you
shoes to
do it.
fill,
Yeah.
for sure.
But I wanted to do that and put my own special little spin on it. So Brent Mason and I got to trading solos back and forth on the end of it, and actually turned out to be an over 5-minute song. So, you know, it was a little selfish, you know, but I was enjoying listening to Brent play. And of course, I had to do a solo after Brent did one, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed making that record.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this with
It's
everybody.
my pleasure, and I hope that people will get a chance to listen to it, at least a couple of tracks, and enjoy it half as much as I enjoyed making it. It was a blast.
And now they can go into it with the story and the knowledge of what went into that song, and maybe they can piece together, you know.
And it's amazing how much work goes into a record, especially if you're doing it, you know, more independent style like we are. But I have some amazing friends that helped me out with this, but from conception, you know, the idea of a song, getting it finished, recording it, rubbing all the rough edges off of it, and getting it presentable is a lot of work. But it's enjoyable. It's a labor of love, and I wouldn't want to do anything else.
Well, we're excited, and we can't wait to show the fans at home what you have in store for us.
I hope they enjoy it, and I hope that, you know, we get to do a few tracks online, and you know, I've got some buddies here with me that we're going to record some of these songs completely live, no touching them up, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited about that. It'll be fun.
Hey guys, stay tuned. Wade Hayes and friends are going to be back to perform a couple songs off their latest album, Old Country Song.
Yeah, sometimes I think I wish I still drank. I wish I still smoked. Sometimes I still feel fine, sweet inside me, just ready to go. Yeah, sure there were those days when I woke up in a haze, the night before turned on the blank. But sometimes